Oha! Britain's House of Commons has described China's claimed Taiwan as an independent country. According to a report by the Foreign Affairs Committee, Taiwan is already an independent country that bears the name of Republic of China. According to the Politico magazine, the British Parliament used the term for the first time. The committee's report further states Taiwan has all the makings of statehood, including a permanent population, a defined territory, a government, and the ability to forge relationships with other states. It just lacks broader international recognition. However, the People's Republic of China regards Taiwan as part of its own national territory and threatens to reunify the island state with the rest of China. This should be as peaceful as possible, said state and party leader Xi Jinping last October, but they would never promise to refrain from using violence. Internationally, Taiwan is recognized as an independent country by only 12 states and the Holy See. Great Britain also has no official diplomatic relations with the government in Taipei. Based on the so-called One China principle, Beijing prohibits any country that wants to establish relations with the People's Republic of China from having diplomatic contacts with Taiwan. Committee Chair Alicia Kearns told Politico that while they recognize Beijing's position, they don't accept it. Kearns went on to say that the committee's report not only reflects British values, but sends a clear message to autocratic regimes around the world that sovereignty cannot be won through violence or coercion. The report was released on Wednesday, shortly after the British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly arrived in Beijing. Cleverly became the first foreign minister in 5 years to arrive in China late on Tuesday evening, after initially having to cancel his trip to Beijing in July because his Chinese counterpart Qin Gang had disappeared. Qin was later removed from office without giving a reason. During this first state visit by a British foreign minister to China after a long time, Chief Diplomat James Cleverly also said he addressed several human rights issues. After meeting his counterpart Wang Yi and Vice President Han Zheng on Wednesday, Cleverly said he had raised human rights in every single conversation with senior Chinese officials. After the visit, Chief Diplomat Wang praised Britain's unique role as a great power, but also spoke of interfering noises in Sino-British relations. Before Cleverly's visit to Beijing, the British Foreign Office said that talks would include China's crackdown on civil liberties in the former British colony of Hong Kong and alleged human rights abuses in the Chinese regions of Xinjiang and Tibet. China has long been accused of systematically repressing the Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities in the northwestern province of Xinjiang. Cleverly's visit to the People's Republic was originally planned for July. However, the trip was postponed due to the mysterious disappearance of then Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang, as I said. And he was then replaced by Wang Yi, who is now in charge. Relations between London and Beijing have deteriorated recently, partly because of alleged human rights abuses by Beijing. Hardliners in Britain's ruling Conservatives are urging the government to take a tougher stance on Beijing. Cleverly advocates a pragmatic approach to the People's Republic and an approach to China's increasing clout that is coordinated with the West. At the same time, he emphasizes the need to work with the world's second largest economy. But of course, Taiwan is still the hottest potato in the hand of the Chinese. The main issue between China and Taiwan is the status of Taiwan. As I said, China claims Taiwan as its 23rd province, while Taiwan maintains that it is an independent country. The two sides have been governed separately since the end of the Chinese Civil War in 1949. China has threatened to use force to bring Taiwan under its control and has stepped up military exercises in the Taiwan Strait in recent years. The United States has a policy of strategic ambiguity on Taiwan, which means that it does not explicitly state whether it would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese attack. However, The US has also sold arms to Taiwan and has strong military presence in the region. The issue of Taiwan is a complex one, and there definitely will not be an easy solution. Both China and Taiwan have strong historical and cultural ties, and both sides have legitimate security concerns. The United States also has a strong interest in maintaining peace and stability in the region. But there are some specific issues that have contributed to the tensions between China and Taiwan. And one thing is the mentioned One China policy. China's One China policy is the official position of the Chinese government that there is only one China and that Taiwan is a part of China. The policy is based on the idea that the People's Republic of China is the successor state to the Republic of China, which was founded in 1912. The Republic of China government fled to Taiwan in 1949 after losing the Chinese Civil War to the Communists. Then there's the Taiwan Relations Act. The Taiwan Relations Act is a US law that was passed in 1979. The law states that the US will continue to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself and that the US will not formally recognize the People's Republic until it renounces the use of force against Taiwan. Then there's the Cross-Strait Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, or ECFA. The ECFA is a trade agreement between the PRC and the ROC that was signed in 2010. The agreement has helped to boost economic ties between the two sides, but it has also been criticized for strengthening the PRC's economic leverage over Taiwan. And then there are the Diaoyutai or Senkaku Islands. The Senkaku Islands are a group of uninhabited islands in the East China Sea. Both the PRC and the ROC claim the islands, and there have been tensions between the two sides over this issue as well. The tensions between China and Taiwan are a serious issue that could potentially lead to conflict. It's important to keep an eye on this situation and to work towards a peaceful resolution. But now the British-Chinese relationship has been a complex and evolving one over the past 10 years. In the early 2010s, the relationship was characterized by close economic ties and growing cooperation on a range of issues. However, in recent years, the relationship has become increasingly strained due to a number of factors, including China's human rights record, its assertive behavior in the South China Sea, and its crackdown on democracy in Hong Kong. And there are some key events that have shaped the British-Chinese relationship in the last 10 years. In 2012, the UK and China signed a strategic partnership agreement. In 2013, the UK became the first European country to grant China market economy status. Still sounds great. In 2014, China's human rights record comes under increasing scrutiny following the Tiananmen Square anniversary and the imprisonment of Nobel Peace Prize laureate Liu Xiaobo. 2015 means China's assertive behavior in the South China Sea leads to tensions with the US and its allies, including the UK. And in 2017, the UK leaves the European Union, raising concerns about the futures of the UK-China relationship. And in 2019, China imposes a national security law on Hong Kong, sparking protests and international condemnation. And in 2020, the UK joins the US and other countries in imposing sanctions on China for its human rights abuses in Xinjiang. The British-Chinese relationship is likely to remain complex and challenging in the years to come. The two countries have a number of important shared interests, such as trade and investment, but they also have significant differences on a number of issues. The UK will need to carefully balance its economic ties with China with its values and interests on human rights and democracy. And there will remain some key challenges that are facing the British-Chinese relationship in the years to come. And the main one is the human rights issue. China's human rights record is a major source of tension in the British-Chinese relationship. The UK has been critical of China's crackdown on democracy in Hong Kong, its treatment on the Uyghur minority in Xinjiang, and its suppression of dissent in general. And China has accused the UK of interfering in its internal affairs. And the South China Sea issue remains. China's assertive behavior in the South China Sea is another major source of tension in the British-Chinese relationship. And China has been building artificial islands in the South China Sea and has claimed sovereignty over most of the waters. And the UK has then joined the US and other countries in calling for a peaceful resolution to this dispute. And I talked about the UK's departure from the European Union. It does play a role here as well, because the Brexit has also complicated the British-Chinese relationship. The UK is now seeking to forge new trade deals with countries around the world, including China. However, the UK is also concerned about China's growing economic and political influence in the EU. The British-Chinese relationship is a complex and important one, and the two countries indeed have a number of shared interests, but they also have significant differences. And the UK will really need to be very careful in managing this relationship. And I have to salute Cleverly for naming the human rights violations in every talk he had there. If it is the way it was reported, then it is a good thing. Of course, as a diplomat, some people might say he has to be more diplomatic, and the human rights issues is an issue for the working level, and you can't do it in public because the Chinese will lose their face as in their culture. Of course, it's complicated, but everything must have limits. And if they continue suppressing people, there must be a point where our economic interests are not as important as that. But we will see how the UK and many other Western countries will deal with that in the future. The current way of doing it, including stealing a lot of intellectual property, let's say it's not optimal. Chancellor Schröder said after, for my German viewers will know, a very famous round after an election night where he lost his chancellorship. The day after, he said his behavior was suboptimal. And I would say this handling of China is suboptimal as well. But if you're interested in more UK politics or Brexit, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.